So in today's video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Virginia Beach in 2024. So look, Virginia Beach is an awesome city. It has a lot of really great things about it, but I really feel like it's not for everybody. And today I want to talk about not just the pros, but the cons of living in Virginia Beach and some very specific tiny cons that I think that if you count all these up over time, you might find that this might not be the city for you to live in if you don't like these things. So we'll talk about that at the end and whether I think living in Virginia Beach is a good idea or not. So we're going to start with the pros. So the number one pro is Virginia Beach is a city of balance. Virginia Beach is like the Honda Accord of cities, or like the Toyota Sienna of cities. It has a lot of benefits to it. It's super functional. It's not a Corvette. It's not like a Cadillac Escalade. It's not a big SUV. It's got a lot of balance to it, and it attracts a lot of different people because it has a lot of things that you can do with it. So for example, Virginia Beach has 4 seasons. If you look on the map, Virginia Beach is on the eastern coast of the United States, but it's in the central part of that coast, and it's in the, you call it the Mid-Atlantic region, right in the middle. So you don't have the super cold winters of the Northeast. You don't have the super hot summers of the South, but you get all 4 seasons. It's awesome here in the springtime. It's great. Separate from the fact that it's my birth month, May is one of the best months to live in Virginia Beach. Fall is also awesome too. September, October, November even, it feels like fall. It feels like you see the leaves changing. It's not super cold. If you want all 4 seasons, this is an awesome option to pick. Now, it leads me to number 2, which is you got the beach. I personally don't like the beach. That being said, it still has a lot of beach access. So if you want a kind of a modest, medium-sized city that has beach access, you don't find too many cities like it. You know, you might have places like Myrtle Beach, Salisbury, Maryland, Charleston, Savannah. There are some cities up and down the coast, especially as you get down into the southeastern coast, that have the beach access, and especially going into Florida. But if you want that mid-Atlantic, that region that doesn't have too hot or too cold, the beach here gives you that option, and you've got a lot. You've got several miles of boardwalk. You've got multiple beaches, different types of beaches, and they all are on different parts and sides of the water. And because we've got a lot of water here, you've got beaches with different types of neighborhood feels. You've got the oceanfront, which is more touristy. You've got the neighborhoods like Shadowlawn or Croatan or Chicks Beach that are close to beaches that are more like has more of a residential field. You've got Sandbridge, which is like the destination beach, like do that big, massive, like 8-bedroom house kind of vibe, you know? So you have that in Sandbridge. So you've got everything, all the different types of beaches here. Then you've got access to different metropolitan areas. So looking on the map, you'll find Virginia Beach there on the southeastern corner of Virginia. Well, if you zoom out, you'll find several different metropolitan cities relatively close by. Richmond's about an hour and a half away from Virginia Beach. So if you zoom out from there, you get about three and a half hours away from Washington, D.C. Then if you go further south, you've got Raleigh, which is about 3 hours and 15 minutes away from Virginia Beach. And then over towards Charlotte too. Not to mention Baltimore, Philadelphia. I've gone to Philadelphia for lunch before. I'm kind of crazy that way. I love food. New York's about 7-8 hours away. So you're not too far away from a lot of different cities and metropolitan cities. So if you live in Virginia Beach and you find that it's got, you know, enough action, but you really want a taste of more, you can get to a lot of different cities within a day or less, or a couple of hours drive. Now, next is the safety. Now, safety is kind of a hot topic as far as like, well, what do you consider safe? Well, as far as rankings go, there are different publications that rank Virginia Beach as some of the safest communities in the entire United States. If you do a quick Google search in Virginia Beach in 2024, you'll find even the first thing that comes up as far as safest cities, Virginia Beach is one of the ones that pops up on Google. As a general rule, it's known to be very safe. Are there places that may not be or don't feel as much? Yes. It's not across the entire city. As a general rule, however, it is a place that people come to because they don't feel like it's a bunch of craziness going on. Now, if you look online, you might find some spots like, for example, near the oceanfront that have had some news stories about issues that have happened near there. But Virginia Beach has a lot of suburbs, a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of strip malls, just, you know, kind of residential areas. But that's part of what makes it feel pretty safe. Now, next is that Virginia Beach has a variety of lifestyles. So what does that mean? So we've got the beach. I talked to you about the beach already. Well, that leads to a fishing dynamic that is pretty common here, popular here as you get towards the beach and towards the coast. Well, as you come off the coast, though, it feels totally different. So you've got residential areas all through the city. So suburbs kind of dominate the middle part of Virginia Beach, and so you've got a lot of families that come here, and that type of dynamic there. Then you've got the arts district. So if you are more interested in art, you've got the Vibe district that is closer to the beach, just off the beach, and that's got its own little nook there. Then you've got the town center area, which is the downtown portion of Virginia Beach, which has more of an upscale, like downtown feel that the rest of the area we just didn't have that for decades. So that's there, and that's new in the last 20 years. Now, next is parks. So this area is pretty big on outdoors stuff, especially parks. Virginia Beach has over 300 publicly funded parks in the city. You have some big ones, for example, First Landing State Park on the northeastern corner of Virginia Beach. You also have Pleasure House Point, is a natural area that on the north central side. You also have Mount Trashmore, which it's a mound of trash, but it's not trash anymore. They filled it over, and now it's a very, very nice park that's in the central part of Virginia Beach. Other ones like Bayville Farms Park, which is up closer to the north central side too. And then big parks like False Cape State Park, which is one of the most underrated and under-discussed parks anywhere. It is super, super quiet, a big natural area. If you have some time, I'd check False Cape State Park out a lot. I also would say Back Bay National Wildlife Refuge is right next to that. A ton of parks, big and small, neighborhood parks that are through a bunch of neighborhoods in Virginia Beach that may just have a playground set in different parts of the neighborhoods in Virginia Beach. So you've got a scattered amount, which makes it very attractive for families. So this is one of the most attractive areas for families to move, and one of the reasons is the parks. You've also got high in-demand school districts. They rank us as number 22 of the cities with the best public schools in America, which is one of the reasons why people come here to raise a family is for those school districts. Niche.com ranks us one of the top cities to raise a family in America. Another reason why it's great to raise a family is also the business opportunities. Well, the military here has a super strong presence. It's one of the largest military presences anywhere in the country. You've got Navy, you've got Army, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. You have so many military branch locations in the Virginia Beach area. Not just Virginia Beach itself, but people will get stationed here from all over the country, all over the world. And so what happens then is a lot of people that are here for military end up staying here. And those people end up getting jobs in other industries or in the industries that they were in the military for. But because there are so many businesses that cater to military personnel. And so you've got a lot of contracting jobs, a lot of different businesses that are across Virginia Beach and through the Hampton Roads area that even if you lived in Virginia Beach, you can, get a job in a contracting field in other parts of the Hampton Roads area, the 7 cities, and still be relatively close to Virginia Beach. And also a ton of hospital jobs. I have so many clients and friends that have hospital jobs, nursing, pharmacists, doctors, surgeons, all through the Hampton Roads area, and especially Virginia Beach. And if you are coming here and retiring here, that is another benefit too. That you're usually pretty close to a lot of hospital or medical treatment centers in Virginia Beach. You also have other access to different cities too. So Virginia Beach is one of 7, what they call the 7 cities. Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Suffolk, Newport News, and Hampton make up the 7 cities in the 757, the zip code 757. And there are other towns and cities all around these 7 cities that make up other parts of the area. Like, for example, Williamsburg is close by as well. But that being said, Virginia Beach is the largest of all of them, and the population being just under 500,000 makes up about just over 30-40% of the 7 cities population, which makes up just over 1 million people in the whole 7 cities region. But there are a lot of cons, a lot of drawbacks to living in Virginia Beach, and so we'll go through all of them. Number 1 is going to be the house prices. The cost of living in Virginia Beach has started to really rise. People have come here a lot because it's been cheap. Like, you live near the beach and you can buy a house pretty cheaply. I'll post this up right now for the wintertime in 2023-24. The median sales prices in Virginia Beach are anywhere from the upper 3s to the low $400,000 price range for like a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath house. Even a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath house under $300,000. I really don't think it's that possible. It's possible, just not as possible. Now you also have things like townhouses that definitely keep the prices lower. You can get those for under $300,000. But if you want that single family house, 3 or 4 bedrooms, you're starting really at 325 to start, and you're really going up from there. So it kind of depends on what your expectations are and what you really want. But if you want like that 4 or 5 bedroom house with a yard, 2,800, 3,200 square feet, you're really starting in the 450 to 500 price range and going up from there. You'll find nooks that are cheaper, but it all depends on what you're looking for. The next is traffic and the drivers. So you hear a lot of talk about traffic in Virginia Beach. Well, first of all, it's getting better, but traffic's still an issue. There are a lot of roads and long like stoplights and big interstates that were designed back 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago that weren't designed for the influx of people that came to Virginia Beach in the last 30, 40 years. And so what they've been doing all through the last decades is trying to retrofit past designs and past construction that has happened to try and make it more comfortable for people driving through town. So with that, you'll find a lot of mishmash. You find interstates that are getting better with traffic, but still as annoying at different points. Now, of all the places that have traffic the worst, to me, the one that's most notable is the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel that connects from the Virginia Beach, Norfolk part of the 7 cities up to the Hampton and Newport News side. This has always been a huge problem, and I think it can kind of bleed into worse traffic issues further away from the tunnel. This is going to change dramatically as we go into the end of the 2020s, into the 2030 range, because the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel is being completely changed and expanded to allow for double the amount of lanes. And I think this will allow for a lot more ease of commute back and forth between one side of the area and another. And it just will reduce the amount of traffic in general as a whole in the area. I think this is going to be a huge change and positive change for Virginia Beach and the Virginia Beach area. And also long roads, roads with stoplights, stop signs, just a bunch of stuff that, if you think that you can drive from one place in Virginia Beach to another in 5 minutes, you might be very mistaken. It's going to be more like, usually the joke is 20 minutes, but you can find places that you can be somewhere in 15 minutes, 25 minutes, that kind of a thing. But if you can be driving distance to the beach within 10 minutes, you're doing great. But the thing is, with Virginia Beach, there are so many strip malls, so many places to shop, and most of what Virginia Beach is kind of replicated over and over again. So the goal is to find the place that you like, the area that you like to move to, and then find the spots close by, like the grocery stores that are within 5-10 minutes drive, because they do exist. You just can't get to the entire city of Virginia Beach that fast, if that makes sense. So that being said, traffic's still an issue. Driving to different military bases can be frustrating. I say if you look on Google and it says the drive is 18 minutes, plan for 24. It's that kind of thing. You don't know what to expect until you get out there, because sometimes the accents pop up. And I think that's really the frustration people have with traffic. Is it's not like it's Washington, D.C. or like Atlanta. It's not like bumper to bumper for 2 hours. It's more of the unexpected things that can take longer. Like if you think you're going to get to your place that you're going to go to in 18 minutes, and it might take 23, 25 kind of thing. And it's just frustrating. Now that leads me to the drivers, though, is that I've heard a lot of people talk about drivers driving crazy here. I think that is somewhat accurate. I mean, there are a lot of things you have to be aware of when you're driving here. I think that's part of why the driving is frustrating. So many signs and stoplights and turns and who's yielding to who and merging. And there's a lot to take in. So I think that's part of it. And then when you drive here regularly and you get used to it, I think that also leads to some casual driving that makes it, people just kind of drive and not think as much. And so it can be frustrating for people that are getting used to what life is like here, because you just get a bunch of randomness with people driving. Part of this too is with the military, there are so many people that come here from all different parts of the country and the world. So what happens also is you have different driving techniques and different driving tendencies based on where people have come from. So that's another reason why driving here can be complicated, because you just got so many different types of things going on here. So I'd say it's just very important to drive defensively and drive aware, and I think you'll be fine. Now next is, we talked about weather and one of the pros. Well, the drawback is the humidity and mosquitoes. That's, I'd say, combination here is that there is an extremely high amount of moisture content in the air in Virginia Beach, which leads to humidity, and through mostly it's going to be May can happen, but really it's June, July, and August, and then leading into some parts of September where it's the worst. The absolute worst is July, August, where it's going to be mid-90s, really hot, and it's going to feel worse than that. So then it leads to an attraction of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are a big deal here. We got a house with a screened-in porch for this reason. We want to be outside livers. We like to be outside. We like barbecues and just sitting outside. Mosquitoes can take over a backyard. And if you do want to be outside, this is going to be a big conversation. And so there are ways to alleviate and to kind of curtail the activity that mosquitoes have. But as a general rule, just be ready for it. And whether it be a screen-in porch or other techniques you can use, something you need to keep in mind, especially if you get eaten up a lot, which I do, my wife does. It's both of us get eaten up a lot, so we really needed something to protect us. People often think, well, I'll just move away from and not be on water. But I can tell you, it does not really matter. It can be worse near water, but you're not going to get rid of mosquitoes around here, even if you don't live next to a body of water. And with that moisture, it leads to termite damage and moisture damage with houses. So if you live in a house in Virginia Beach, make sure you get a termite and moisture contract, a warranty on your house. So you have a termite and moisture licensed company that can come out and inspect and take care of your property and of your crawl space or of your house and prevent any sort of wood destroying insects, termites, and moisture damage that could happen in your house, because that is a very common thing in Virginia Beach. The next is a more of a localized thing, which is the jet noise. Jet noise is super frustrating. People often hate it. Some people love it. Jet noise is not a widespread across the whole Hampton Roads area thing, though, but it's in certain parts of Virginia Beach because the Oceana Naval Air Station is on the eastern side of Virginia Beach, and I'll show you right here. This is where the Oceana Naval Air Station is. Now, the jets land and take off in different directions based on the time of year. So based on where you want to move, you might not have as much or more noise based on, when and where they take off, based on what season it is. The one thing you want to be aware of is the ACU's Jet Noise Zone Map. And this is a very important and helpful map to keep in mind, because what it does is it focuses on all the areas that have the highest propensity for noise. There's actually a disclosure when you buy a house here that includes this jet noise disclosure, and it shows you, hey, which zone are you in? You'll see that the darker the color green or into blue, the louder the noise usually is. And so you can even look, and I'll make this, I'll attach this link to this video so you can click it and then reference which neighborhood you might be wanting to move to. You can see if your neighborhood falls in a specific noise zone. Now, jet noise doesn't happen all the time either. So if you do move to one of these jet noise zone locations, you might have days where you don't hear anything at all. Then you'll have times where you'll have jets flying every, 5-10 minutes for a while. And also ask neighbors, because neighbors will know. Neighbors are going to understand, how often and loud the jets get in the specific spot that you might want to move to. However, you might want to ask more than one person, because some people might have gotten so used to it, they forgot that it was there. So they might have just blocked it out. So if they say, that's not a big deal, just ask a few people just to make sure. Now, next is the lack of public transportation. Well, there is public transportation here, but it just stinks. If you do plan to move here and you don't have a car, get ready. I mean, I would suggest it. I wouldn't even suggest biking as a reliable source either. So as a general rule, there's public transportation. There is the bus system, but it just doesn't run extremely efficiently, in my opinion. And so getting across town with a bus or with public transportation can become frustrating. So I just wouldn't rely upon it. Make sure you have a car if you live in Virginia Beach. Next, though, is the lack of widespread culture. Why do I say it like that? Well, Virginia Beach has culture. It's got the beach. It's got the fishing culture down near parts of the beach. You've got the arts district. You've got the downtown section. But the issue that often people find is that it's not like rich in one specific thing across the whole city. So if you do like the beach, I think that's the closest to what culture is here. But again, it's near the coast. And I think part of the reason of this is because A, it's a big land-sized city, but number two is, again, you have so much military that comes here from all different parts of the world. And because of that, you find different cultures sprinkled in. I feel like it's like a melting pot of the country in a lot of ways because of the military. There are no four major sports teams, major league teams here. That's another issue. You got minor leagues like baseball, hockey, but other than that, it really isn't a major league sports team place. You have to drive several hours to get to the closest like NBA team in Charlotte, or the Carolina Panthers, Washington Commanders. They're both 3 plus hours away. Baltimore, 4 to 5 hours. So the lack of a team for people to rally around also makes it not as much of a culture-laden area as well. So that's one issue that people have, which leads also to another one, which is the lack of nightlife. You'll find a little bit in like the downtown section of Virginia Beach, the town center area, a little bit. Of course, you have the beach, the ocean front, where most of the tourists end up focusing attention on. But after that, you've got restaurants, you got some nightlife. But as a general rule, it's not just a thumping city. It's not like you don't go there for the nightlife. If you do want nightlife, the option is it's not too far away, 20, 25 minutes away to Norfolk, takes you to downtown Norfolk, and you can get more nightlife there. You'll have some performing arts centers that have, like, for example, larger A-list bands can come. There's an amphitheater here, some performing arts centers with some more culture like opera, performing arts like ballet, dance, that type of thing. And some also smaller venues with concerts as well. But again, this is not a thick nightlife place, which adds to the lack of culture as well. Another one is a lack of newer construction. Now, you might argue with me and say, well, there is new construction here, Sam. You're right. There is new construction here. And there are newer developments, newer areas like Red Mill in the southeastern part of Virginia Beach. Over time, there have been newer developments. But these are not like, there's not a ton of like boom, 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 boom. 2024, 2023 new shops and restaurants. And there's not a lot of new building happening. Part of that is because this area kind of is what it is. Like, it's landlocked by multiple sides. Water on the north, on the east. So it's hard to find places to build. And Norfolk and Chesapeake on the west side of Virginia Beach leads to the idea that, well, you can only really build going further south. And a lot of those areas you can't build because of wetlands, or it's this country area that is kind of being protected. So while there is growth, you'll find newer construction and new construction here. It's not a widespread thing like, for example, maybe like a Houston, which has a ton of master plan communities and a ton of cities that are booming around there. Well, again, we've got water around half of the city, so it makes it a lot harder to build and expand. So that leads to possibly higher cost for demand for houses in Virginia Beach. There aren't as many places you can build, but at the same time, it kind of is what it is. So the newness that comes, it's coming slowly over time in places that have pre-existing areas already built. So you've got new things that are being renovated, new buildings that are being renovated, new houses, like houses that are being renovated. There's just not a lot of land to mass produce a lot of new things. So then I get some small ones that I think are very notable. Number one is lack of bike access on like bike lanes. There aren't a lot of designed bike lanes. There are some, but not a lot. So it makes biking more difficult, but you can bike on the sidewalk in most places except for the oceanfront and town center. But as a general rule, that can be frustrating. Also, sidewalks. There are a lot of neighborhoods in Virginia Beach that don't have sidewalks. Now, I grew up in a neighborhood that didn't have sidewalks. That was fine for me. The reason that people don't often think about that is because a lot of these neighborhoods are pretty quiet. And so you don't find a bunch of cars just driving through and making a relatively unsafe walking environment for people. There are neighborhoods with sidewalks, but they're definitely not all over the place. The newer neighborhoods like in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, you'll find more of them. But this area has a lot of 50s and a lot of 60s and 70s neighborhoods that just didn't have a lot of sidewalks, and it just wasn't designed for that. Now, another con that I think often gets overblown but is a reality is the tourists. So personally, I don't really think this is as big of a deal. Some people find this to be really annoying. The oceanfront is, full of things to attract tourists. The beach, the oceanfront, which is great for the financial stability of the area. And the city is definitely trying to attract more tourism. But again, once you come off of the coast and a mile or so plus, you really don't even realize that this is an area that's full of tourists. And I think this doesn't get discussed as much because I think it's easy to blame tourists for frustrations near the beach. But again, reality is once you come off of there, you just don't even notice them, in my opinion. And another one that people don't recognize until they get here is that there are two cable companies, Verizon and Cox, but Cox is like the king, and they've been here a long time, and they are everywhere. The problem with Verizon is that they are not everywhere yet. They are putting themselves in different parts of the communities, in neighborhoods, but you have to check on their website to see if where you want to move has Verizon already installed. If they don't, it's Cox. People complain a lot about Cox. I think part of the reason why people complain about Cox is also that Cox has been here for so long, and they really were kind of the only game in town. And so I think they just had been picked on for so long. But Verizon comes in, and Verizon has created some competition, but even Verizon's have had their issues too. So that being said, we have Verizon. We like Verizon, but I'd say that if you want Verizon, you can't get them anywhere in the city of Virginia Beach. Yeah. So when I suggest you move to Virginia Beach in 2024, well, it depends on what you're looking for. If you want a balance, if you want demand of school district, you want a little bit of everything, access to plenty of stuff for families. If you want the safety, you want all those things that can make, raising a family pretty comfortable. I think Virginia Beach has a lot to offer, and I think it would be a very good spot to consider. However, if you want something like a New York City, you want Atlanta, if you want a ton of all types of things to do and action and a ton of everything, you're not going to find that here. It's just like I mentioned before, Toyota Sienna, Honda Accord, you got balance, you're going to have what you're looking for and need to enjoy your life, but there aren't any big, oh my gosh, Virginia Beach has a ton of this. It has a little bit of everything except beach. Got a lot of beach. And that balance is what makes it very attractive for a lot of people. Now, if you're planning to relocate here and you still have some questions about pros and cons, not sure if maybe I didn't include one you might be wondering about, drop a question below. Drop a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And other people here might be able to answer questions as well. Now, if you want to relocate to the area, I love helping people relocate from Virginia Beach through Williamsburg. It's what I do, and I love it. I'm a real estate agent. I specialize in helping people relocate to the Virginia Beach area. So if you have any questions, I've got my contact info in the description. Email, call, text. You can reach out at any point and I'll do whatever I can to help you relocate to the area. And I will see you on the next video.